Celebrating 46 years on the air, award-winning Farmweek is a production of Mississippi State University Extension.
Today on Farmweek, the concluding segments of our series, The Hungriest State. The future for Mississippi fishermen, not a pretty picture. In Southern Gardening, Aurora, Burro's Tail, and Orange Delight. Eddie has the inside scoop on these beauties. Back on our series, the potential collapse of the Mississippi fishing industry. And in our feature, meet Miss Ruby, the queen of 4-H. Farmweek starts right now.
Hello everybody, I'm Zach Ashmore.
And I'm Mike Russell. Thanks for being with us again here on Farm Week. Before we dive into our series, an update on that mammoth deadly fire in Texas where more than 1 million acres burned. A number of large fires in the Texas Panhandle and surrounding areas are still burning. As we prepared this broadcast, authorities reported the Smokehouse Creek fire, the largest of the blazes at nearly 1.1 million acres, was 37% contained. Thousands of livestock have been lost, along with hundreds of homes and other structures. For many cattle that have survived so far, there's little grass to eat and no water. Texas is home to more than a quarter of the nation's beef herds. We'll continue to follow the story. And now the concluding stories from our series, The Hungriest State. In this episode of The Fisherfolk, we focus on those trying to make a living in Mississippi's fishing industry. We pick up with Ben Posadas of Mississippi State University, who paints a grim picture for the industry itself.
I went through almost every major seafood product being consumed in the country. Compared our production here by our growers or by our fishermen and the imports that we buy from everywhere, the price that wholesalers pay for our growers and the price that our wholesalers pay for those imported products. One country sells it at half the price of what we sell here in the U.S. U.S. product, foreign country A, half. Foreign country B, 75%. So who can compete with that? There's no way. So the margins are getting slimmer and slimmer. Sometimes 1 cent, 2 cents, maybe 5 cents per dollar sale. That's hard, you know. The captain, a crew, and maybe another crew, and maybe another, depending on the size of the boat. A 5 cent per dollar sale profit is not good enough to keep them in the boat. It's gonna kill this industry here.
What do you think the coast is gonna look like in 15 years? Like when in the next few generations, what do you think is gonna happen?
Less boat. Yeah, for sure. Because I see a lot of people that with the older generation had gone out, had retired. So, and a lot of people have been selling their boat from left to right. It's not continuing. The shrimping business is not continuing in the family. It's not being carry on. The generation's not carry on.
You use the term graying of the fleet. What is that term? What does it mean?
It means, my hair is gray hair, means the folks working in the fleet are getting older and older over time. And no younger ones are coming and joining the fleet to fish.
Graying of the fleet is a very huge problem. Like I said, when I was 26 years old, I bought my first big shrimp boat, and man, I was the youngest guy out there with this big old boat. And here it is 20 years later, and I'm still the youngest guy out there. Look behind me, and there's not a whole lot of guys coming up. And it's kind of scary.
Right now, what we hear from the fishing families is they don't want their children even going on the boats. They want them to go to college and learn another trade, because it's been so difficult on this current generation that they don't want their kids to have to experience what they've been going through.
The new generation see how hard their parents had to work for it and not make enough. Yeah, they don't want that. They want a stable job, that can meet the ends instead of working their butt off and at the end nothing.
I can tell you, just like any young person or anybody for that matter, they want to work and they want to get paid for their work. And this industry here has become more like gambling. And you're rolling the dice, and people don't like to work and not get paid. And so you can't blame them for that.
Do your children want to fish?
Not really. They don't want to do it full time. They don't. I mean, they will help out, until we find a deckhand, but finding a really good deckhand nowadays is hard because they're not catching enough to pay for the deckhand. So actually, my kids are working for food. So yeah, so to keep this business alive, everybody had to do. The family had to pitch in. They work together until we find a better solution.
If your sons don't take over this business or this boat, what happens to the business or the boat?
We probably eventually have to sell it. If my husband can no longer go out because to the aging, getting older, or because it's the health reason, then we probably have to sell it. If the kids doesn't take over.
It's hard for young folk to decide and join to become even a crew of a fishing boat. Because the choice is, there are other things that they can do. As life becomes good for these families, they can afford to send their kids to Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and those nice universities, and earn nice degrees, doctors, lawyers, pharmacists. So once they graduate, there's no way they're gonna go back and go fishing.
When I look at the graying of the fleet and the impacts on the long-term viability of the industry, I really am concerned. I've been ringing the alarm bells about this for the past 5 years. I think that in 10 years, if we don't see a course correction, we're going to be in absolute dire straits. With the average age of the fishermen, commercial fishermen, around 54 years of age, 5 more years will put that around 60. And that's getting at a place that's is going to be what I would call irreparable harm to the industry, that we may never recover from that.
Well, just like any household, children, they know that their parents are getting older. They don't pay much attention about that. But once their parents die, that's when they realize our parents did. It's the same way with the fleet. We don't pay much attention to the graying of the fleet. We just pay lip service. Oh, we got some funding for them, we got some training for them. If the young folks come and join, fine. If not, But when these folks are gone, they're gone.
A grim picture indeed. Will Mississippi's fishing industry collapse? We ask that question in our concluding episode in just a few moments.
On the lighter side, succulents, a super spectacular sensation for spring season satisfaction. Eddie Smith's got a secret selection of sedums for the serious gardener, hoping to spice up their space with a saturation of sweet color. Here's Eddie.
Today, Southern Gardening is at Buds and Blooms in Weston, Mississippi. Let's take a look at some of their beautiful sedum varieties they have available.
Sedums, also known as stone crops, are a type of succulent plant that are known for their fleshy, round leaves and bright, showy flowers. They come in a wide variety of shapes, sizes, and colors. Aurora sedum is a beautiful succulent plant with thick, fleshy leaves that are arranged in a rosette pattern. The leaves are a soft green color with a pinkish tint, and they have a powdery coating that gives them a matte finish. When grown in full sun, the leaves develop a bright pink hue around the edges, adding a splash of color to any garden. Burro's tail sedum, a trailing succulent plant, is a widely cultivated houseplant in many parts of the world. This plant is named after its long, trailing stems that resemble the tail of a burro or donkey. The stems can grow up to 3 feet long and are covered with small, plump, light green leaves that store water. Burro's tail sedum is a low-maintenance plant that requires bright, indirect light and well-drained soil. Orange Delight sedum, known for its vibrant color, is a popular choice for home gardens and landscaping due to its hardiness, drought tolerance, and ability to thrive in a variety of conditions. The leaves of Orange Delight sedum can vary in color depending on the specific growing conditions, but they generally range from a bright green hue and take on an orangish or bronze tint as the plant matures.
There are hundreds of varieties of sedums to use in your containers, gardens, and landscapes. I'm Eddie Smith, and I will see you next time on Southern Gardening.
We'll take a break right here, but don't go away. Coming up on our Farm Week feature, they call her Miss Ruby, and they call her an inspiration. In Lee County, Mississippi, she's the state's longest-serving 4-H volunteer. Farm Week's Jonah Holland, a longtime 4-H'er himself, goes one-on-one with the woman everyone says is everything a 4-H leader should be, and who created a museum with memories she's been collecting for 56 years. Miss Ruby, up close and personal. That's coming up on Farm Week. Don't go away.
I believe in people and their hopes, their aspirations and their faith, and their right to make their own plans and arrive at their own decisions, and their ability and power to enlarge their lives and plan for the happiness of those they love. I believe that education, of which extension work is an essential part, is basic in stimulating individual initiative, self-determination, and leadership. That these are the keys to democracy, and that people, when given facts they understand, will act not only in their self-interest, but also in the interest of society. Because I believe these things, I am an extension professional.
I believe in people and their hopes, their aspirations, and their faith. I believe in intellectual freedom to search for and present the truth without bias and with courteous tolerance toward the views of others. I believe that education is a lifelong process, and the greatest university is the home. That my success as a teacher is proportional to those qualities of mind and spirit that give me welcome entrance to the homes of the families I serve. Because I believe these things, I am an extension professional.
Back to our series, The Hungriest State. More about why Mississippi's fisherfolk are facing such hard times. We pick up with Ryan Bradley, who explains the potential collapse of the industry looks like what we're seeing now: lack of profit and resulting decay.
You know, when I think about what the collapse of the seafood industry might be, or what that may look like, we can already start to see pieces of that. If you ride around these harbors from coast to coast, you'll see some boats, shrimp boats and oyster boats, beyond repair, rusted to heck and back. These fishermen, if they're not making money, they can't maintain these vessels, which they cost a lot of money to maintain each year. So we begin to lose these vessels. If they don't rot away, they're sold off and they're relocated to other parts of the country. About 25 years ago, we had over 2,000 licensed commercial shrimp fishermen in the state of Mississippi. Today, we have about 300, with about half of those being active. So we're really just a fraction of what we used to be just 25 years ago.
What would the collapse of the Mississippi seafood industry mean for the food security of the Mississippi Gulf Coast?
The way of life, consumption patterns of seafood as well as other commodities will drastically change. Trade and industry will be changed. There's going to be a lot of people who are now employed in the industry, from harvesting to processing to wholesaling to seafood markets, restaurants. Those jobs will be gone. And those revenues that the government gets, local, state, and federal, they'll be gone. There will be more need for welfare checks, and that's not good. That's not good.
But bigger than that, what does that mean for our local food supply? The pandemic really highlighted how important our local food supply chains really are. And many people saw when they went to their supermarkets during the height of that pandemic, they couldn't find beef, they couldn't find chicken, they couldn't find pork. But our boats were out working, and those people, when they couldn't find food, they were lined up at these docks, they were lined up at our seafood dealers, and they were stocking their freezers full of local seafood. You can only imagine if we got in a situation worse than what we were in at that time, how bad things could become without our local food supplies being strong and robust. And so that's why I'm proud to advocate for domestic wild seafood, because I understand how important it is for our local food supply chains. And so we always encourage people to ask who and where your seafood came from. It has such a huge economic impact on the coast. And I tell people this all the time, is the more that we can keep our dollars in the state, the stronger our state economy becomes. It's going to take a lot of work protecting the environment. I think that's our #1 threat right now. We've got to do a lot more than we're currently doing to stop the pollution of our waters. But then we've got to work to train and educate and probably retool the industry to be prepared for the future. That's not going to be the silver bullet, but it's a starting point. And we got to start educating our children that this is a viable career path. And we have to enlighten our politicians on the needs of the industry, because it's a shame to me to have the seafood industry here as one of the most, that built the coast, is so influential on the coast. It seems like we're forgotten now, and it's more about the tourism. And it's something that we should never take for granted because as we're seeing, it can definitely slip away from us.
Man is smart. As long as they work together, we develop technologies to exploit resources around us to feed mankind. It's tough though. It's gonna be hard for everyone, but I think we'll be able to survive.
Survive indeed. Tough people in a tough situation.
In this week's feature, a story we've really looked forward to bringing you again. They call her Miss Ruby, and she's been a big part of the 4-H experience for a lot of Mississippi youth. But there's much more to Miss Ruby's extraordinary story than you might think. Farmweek's Jonah Holland has more.
I just love people. It makes me happy, make my heart cool. And so I just love people. When I lay down at night, I think about the children that went through with me doing 4-H.
Ruby Beckley is Mississippi 4-H's longest-serving volunteer. She's spent the last 56 years dedicated to serving Lee County and youth across the state.
She's who we should all strive to be where 4-H is concerned. She is what a good leader should be. She cares about her people, she cares about her 4-Hers, she cares about the volunteers, and like I said, she's just an inspiration.
When you said make the best better, that's what she done. She made the best better. So,
in her career, she's made an impact on countless 4-Hers.
Well, I see that children need some help, and I want them to keep moving on. I love the children, they love me. You see, I've been all over the United States with children, and I love it because them children, they love to work and raise their own money to get buses and cars and things. And we've been all over the United States. I even been to the Bahamas with children. It's about learning and doing, working. If they have a project, they need to work on their project. A lot of children don't even know how to public speak. So you need to start them to working with 4-H. 4-H is a word, learn by doing. I said it's about 4-H doing what they need to do, working, making the best better for this United States of America. That's what it needs to be. Young people need to know that 4-H would help them in this United States. Getting money. They always begging for money. Why not work and get the money? Because you can get it through 4-H. You can get scholarships and all those good things.
Not only is she an inspiration to youth, but to other volunteer leaders as well.
Because when you think about the R in her name, you think about how reliable she is, how she takes on responsibility, how she just rises up and go to the U. I think of her as being unique. There's only one Miss Ruby. And when I think about the B, she's a believer. A believer. She believes in what she's doing, and she never falls short. If I see the Y, I think about the yearning, how she just yearns to do more and more and keep others going. Not only children, but adults. She leaves an impact on you, a lasting impact that no one can take away. All that Miss Ruby.
Ruby says she's kept every piece of 4-H memorabilia since 1968 and has turned her garage into her very own museum.
I said, Lord, I wonder what I could do with all these pictures. The Lord said, do a museum. And that's what I began to do myself. I started nailing pictures upside the wall. You see my picture back there? And I had pictures all, and I moved them down there. And every picture that I had in the boxes thing, I pulled them out and nailed them upside the wall. And that's how I started that museum.
It is an absolute time capsule of what 4-H is and has been for the last 56 years. I mean, it's wonderful.
It's not only Starlight 4-H Club members in there. I think she got the entire Lee County 4-Hers in there. You know, because she said, I said, that's my daughter right there. She said, I didn't know I'd put your daughter in here. I said, well, you got them all. You got all the 4-Hers that's been through Lee County. She has it in that museum.
I want people from far and near to come see the museum and see what 4-H was about. Some people don't know. I did a lot of work, man, for the years. from way back there in 68. You know I've been rich, because I worked for 4-H. I've been rich. And y'all can get rich too, but you got to get yourself involved. Amen. So y'all get involved with 4-H, and I tell you, you're going to move on up. So y'all instill in your children that 4-H is what's moving now. You know that? 4-H is moving, and they're going to move on, because I'm going to be praying for the children that do want to do something in 4-H.
That is one positive woman right there. Great story. Well, next week, back by popular demand, the 2024 Dixie National Sale of Junior Champions. Zach and I partnered up for this one. More than 1,200 4-H and FFA members competed for slots in the sale, showing more than 2,000 head of livestock.
Plus, meet Emma Grace Putnam, a hardworking young lady who showed her champion lamb in the sale.
A record-setting event, an encore, the 2024 Dixie National Sale of Junior Champions. That's next time on Farm Week.
Remember, if you missed a story, look for past episodes of Farm Week on our website at farmweek.tv.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. See you next week. Thanks for watching.